Today we're going to talk about Sheriff of Nottingham. I always want to say and his merry men, but Sheriff of Nottingham, Merry Men from Arcane Wonders. It is a modular expansion for Sheriff of Nottingham, of course. And basically what this does is it offers you all kinds of new ways and twists to play Sheriff of Nottingham. The first thing it does is it adds a sixth player. And it's actually one of my favorite pictures. And you get the board, obviously the player board, and you get the bag for that said player, which I will always only use the black bag unless my son's back from the Marine Corps, because then he will fight me over it. Not saying he will beat me, but I will yield to him. It's the least I can do for him joining the Marines. So what's next? I think one of the most significant things after, you realize that you have all the parts for playing a six-player game, and basically when you add the sixth player, you don't change the game rules that much, you just add the player. So you've got that going on. But then I would say definitely the next thing that changes the game is the two deputies. If you add the deputies thing, you're going to be using the chest and the deputies. And basically you get the deputy deck. And the way the deputies work is basically at the start of your turns, you... whoops, is this everybody? Is it? I got some extra stuff in here. Let me pull that out of there. That's the black market deck. Is it that small? I think I might be missing some black market cards. Anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. It's not going to be relevant for this demo anyway. I mean, we're going to talk about the black market deck. That's relevant. But basically, the way you do this is every turn, 2 cards are drawn by the sheriff, or however you guys do it. We don't always play... I mean, we always play that there's a sheriff, but we don't necessarily play that the sheriff is always the person who takes care of the upkeep. That's not really relevant for the gameplay. There's another one. But the way it works is you get these cards, and basically each one of them has a player on the back side. And what you do is you draw, and then that person is a deputy for the turn. And in this case, that would be... here, we'll do one that's a little bit more obvious. So the black player and the red player would be the deputies that turn. And the way it works is the deputies are basically like the sheriff, and they get to haggle back and forth and communicate and work towards gathering more loot based off of, the black market, the laws, the special orders, and things that are in play, plus your regular smuggling of stuff. So basically what happens is they share this, and if both players are in agreement, they go on the board. And they collaborate, and they split everything that they earn. Now, if they disagree, each player is effectively on their own when it comes to revealing the smuggled goods and things of that nature. That's the basics, right? So the next big thing is laws. And laws are a constant flux to the game. They basically allow you to always change... Not the rules per se, but the environment. So, for example, this law is chicken demand. And it reads, at the end of the inspection phase, if you brought chickens into Nottingham, the bank pays you 2 gold plus 1 additional gold for each chicken. And there's a variety of different things you do here. And the way you do this is at the start of the game when you set up, basically what you do is you shuffle the deck of laws, you draw 3 cards, or the sheriff draws 3 cards, like so. He looks at them, he goes, let's go with compulsory sale of chickens and Thieves Guild rewards. Those are the 2 laws. This card then gets discarded. And then every turn thereafter, the sheriff for the round will draw 2 more cards and discard 1 law. So the laws will constantly be in flux and constantly changing. which makes the strategy, I mean, it totally opens up and changes the strategies of how you play Sheriff in Nottingham, because you might be going for a special victory with, I don't know, of smuggling something in, and then one of these laws might come in and change it, or you might be way ahead on chicken or something like that and be planning for the chicken smuggling thing, and then all of a sudden the law comes in that makes chickens more valuable, and the other players kind of work against what you were trying to do because they're now motivated to smuggle chickens. Or bring chickens into Nottingham. Okay, so next up is special orders cards. And during the setup of the game, you basically reveal 4 of these cards. Okay, so they go on the board just like everything else does, right? And then each card has associated with them 2 items. This particular card has the apples and the crossbow. This one has apple and ale, or that might be cider. Ale. I don't remember all the names of everything. Let's see. We have apple and spices. So basically, you would during the inspection phase, once you successfully smuggle those 2 items across the board, or across the border of Nottingham, you can reveal them, and then you would get to collect this card in the reward, which is in the upper right-hand corner here. Hey, I did that right. That's amazing. Now, if somebody collects a card, at the end of the round, you reveal a new order. So the orders are always in flux. They're always another way that you can add more points to victory and change the strategy of the game. So next we have... So next up is black market cards. I am a pretty good fan of these. They're very similar to the laws, or I should say they're very similar to the special order cards in the sense that they are a way to earn extra points. But these are game changers. So you have 2 for every type of item. You have 2 for pepper, 2 for silk, and 2 for meat, which I called ale earlier. And basically the way you do this is when you set up the game, you you reveal the black market cards, and you put the higher of the 2 pointed ones on top. Each one has a higher point value for one of them. Silk has 34 and 31. Meat has 32 and 29. And pepper has 30 and 27. And the way that these work is during the inspection phase, once you've successfully smuggled something across the border, I like the word smuggled, you reveal the 3 cards that would allow you to acquire a black market card. Now those 3 cards can be, they have to be in your contraband pile. And then you would collect this card, and then the other one will be there. Now what I like about the black market cards is they can be a game changer. You could be in last place, and they can allow you, if late game, they could be a really big game changer. If you manage somehow to swindle and get them in the late game, they're just a big swing for you. I have seen that happen in my house twice now. Because we were, I guess, bad players, because it should never have happened. But they are a game changer in the sense that they give you that 30-point swing, right? And that's, once things happen, it kind of, opens the eyes of players a little bit, and it changes some of the way you might think about things, especially if you're one of those players that goes around and is counting points or trying to count the points to see where everybody's at, so you can control and manipulate the game enough that you might have a victory. And last, we have the Merry Men, which these are new contraband cards. And you have Little John, Robin Hood, Friar Tuck, Jill, Stutley, Maid Marian, of course, right? And all these guys have different... Oh, and of course you have Arthur of Landwaite and Will Scarlet. You got Will. So all these cards have different values on them, and they all have a special ability. What's really cool about them is if snuck through, you can reveal them, and then you collect the bounty or the money on their heads. Or the money. And on top of that, they have a special ability. Like Little John has steal 1 contraband card at random from any player's merchant stand and place it into your contraband pile. Pretty cool. Robin of the Hood Steal 6 gold from the sheriff, keep 3 gold for yourself, and divide the remaining 3 gold among other non-sheriff players. Which is pretty cool too, and he's 10 gold. Friar Tuck. So these guys are actually a lot of fun. When I first started looking at the expansion, I thought they were going to be a gimmick and just a joke. Which, I mean, because they make you laugh sometimes, they kind of are a joke, I guess. But, you know, they're just a lot of fun to add to the game. Now, what do I like about the Sheriff of Nottingham expansion? Other than the fact that the box is almost like a fez on my head. That falls off. Falls off when I move around. No, so Merry Men to me, or not Merry Men, Sheriff of Nottingham in general to me, is a game where you want to lie, bribe, cheat. It's a game that you play to have a blast, right? And I think Sheriff of Nottingham, Merry Men, on so many levels, takes that up a notch. It encourages you to do more smuggling of contraband, which is going to make you lie and bluff. Bluffing is so fun now. Well, I mean, bluffing is always fun, but Merry Men makes it a little bit more fun. It gives you probably about 15 more reasons to lie in the game. And I'm not encouraging children to lie. But in this game, it's okay. It also adds a ton of tension and strategy. I think if you've played Sheriff of Nottingham for a long time, you can get to a point where you can kind of see where the strategies are going, especially if you tend to play with the same group of players over and over, and nobody new comes into the game. And now that you can add the 6th player, that totally changes the strategy beyond everything, and changes things quite a bit for the sheriff. I'm not so much a fan of the deputies. I'm not so much a fan of 2 players trying to go back and forth and figure things out together. I think it adds a little bit too much time to the game, but that's just in my experience of playing with a few local friends and my family, which sometimes when you've got 2 brothers that are trying to bicker back and forth over what's in a bag, things don't always go the way you want to, and nor do they go quickly. The other thing that's really good about Sheriff of Nottingham is Sheriff of Nottingham supports the idea of bribing, and basically there's no rules as to what you can do to bribe. You can steal a kiss, or, you know, for a kiss I'll look at your bag, or I won't look at your bag if you kiss me. This actually takes that whole idea up another level or two. Not because, you know, it's limited by your imagination, but because some of these ideas, some of these new things, give you more chances where you might want to bribe the sheriff, or you might want to bribe one of the 2 deputies. And that's where the deputies actually kind of come out of the box and can be a lot of fun. If you can get it to a point where you manipulate one deputy but not the other, so they have to stand alone, things can really work to your favor, and you can really shaft 1 or 2 of them, and that creates a ton of game tension. There are no rules downsides from playing Merry Men that I have seen from Sheriff of Nottingham, and it gives you several new sets of rules that are very easy to incorporate. You do not have to have an advanced knowledge of Sheriff of Nottingham to play this. I mean, the rule book is like, I don't know, 16 pages, but they're not really full pages. I mean, the whole book open is less than 8.5 by 11. It's probably 8 by 10. And, you know, a lot of big pictures in it. So it's really easy to read, and you don't have to read all the rules to pick up the expansion and play with it. You can just incorporate one set of rules at a time. And if you're going to do that, if you're not playing with 6 players, because that's obviously the first one you would do if you're playing with 6 player, I encourage either Laws or Black Market, because those are the ones that I like the most. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This has been a 5 to 10 minute review with Through Gamer Goggles, gamer-goggles.com, on Sheriff of Nottingham, Merry Men. Oops, that was upside down. I'm a fool. Hey, Brian Pope, make a fool card for merry men. Or Sheriff of Nottingham. A fool, a jester, a jokester, a prankster. He fits.